adopt the agenda. I was moved by Linda,
Second.
second by Shelley. All in favor?
Yes.
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 5-0. Middle school and high school reports.
Okay, I think they're gonna call in, so, but I did print them
I
for you.
can get a hold of a middle school in here.
Oh, okay. Can't remember glasses.
Yeah, all those
Always
glasses.
steamed.
Hello.
Hello.
Someone has to talk.
Oh,
Hello,
I don't have
Anna.
my camera on because nobody wants to see that. I'm just kidding. Okay, my camera's on. Hello, everyone. How are you tonight?
Good.
Good.
Linda.
I'm doing well. I think you wanted me to stay home just because I'm a hugger and I'd be trying to touch everybody. So, all right. Do you need me to read the report and go through it, or?
Please.
I added some things at the end for the moment of sunshine, but I will just go through it quickly.
Okay.
This year, did not end or isn't ending how we had expected, but we're doing the best that we can. Right now, we have, 285 students enrolled in online classroom, 156 enrolled for paper and pencil packets, which we sent out this morning. They get sent out every Monday. So our total enrollment is 437, but we have 441 people that we've had contact with, and that's because some parents want the paper, which I completely understand. Sometimes technology can be a little frustrating, especially if you're not familiar with it, so they just want to make sure their kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It will be reflected on their report cards if they participated or not. The 3 designations are honors, which is an 80% or better completion rate. Participation is the 79% or less, and then no participation is 0 completion. And that will be listed at the bottom of their report cards. Wellness students or wellness teachers are tracking their groups. Last week we sent 3 calls out, one for no participation to this point, which got a lot of phone calls, and a huge jump in enrollment online and completions. And then also it was an increase in paper and pencil requests. We've had a lot of parents come in to pick up packets also. But the 3 calls, that was the first call, and there was another one for students with participation to encourage them to keep participating. And then we sent one out to the students with the paper and pencil participation. Our weeks are planned all the way through to the end of the year. We're going to be sending finals out next week with students having until May 22nd to complete or submit. Our end of the year celebrations, the staff is doing a farewell video for all students and well wishes for the 8th grade students moving to high school. Due to the social distancing restrictions in effect, we won't be in person. We don't know how we can do that in a safe way to keep staff, students, and families safe. I believe there was another case today in St. Francis, so we are going to try to attempt to contact the tribal community chair people and ask them to honor their 8th grade students. And I also want to contact the Rosewood Fair coordinators, if there is Rosewood Fair, and do a special honoring song for the 8th grade students and high school graduates of 2020. Awards will be sent with report cards. A letter will be included for the 8th grade students and their families, along with their certificate. The feathers will not be mailed. They will be available to be picked up, or they can request someone to drop it off. We'll have Kevin or the attendance team do that. Our feathers aren't real, but they still need to be handled with care. So that was a change from the original report that I sent. Moments of sunshine, we're very, very proud of our staff. The creativity and the sport that they have come up with has just been awe-inspiring. Our teachers have really embraced this process, and the challenges, they work together to find a way to make this work, and it has been a really good experience for us to, and it forced us to think out of the box even more so than what we normally do. Our team level, our teams are meeting weekly by teams, just like I'm on right now. And then if we need to contact somebody, we just do it via a phone call through Teams or cell phones. But we have had a lot of contact with our staff too. Next school year, we're starting that planning process. Depending on what social distancing guidelines are going to be, you know, that's going to continue to evolve over those next summer months. Are we concerned? Definitely. We are going to continue to have our staff do the online learning lesson plans in conjunction with in-person classroom lesson plans into next year. My hope is that we will be able to continue that online process, and when kids are absent, they have the ability to get online and do their work without the packets, which we don't get back, or sending textbooks or whatever, and then still do a packet of work every week, so we're just prepared if a student's sick. I don't know what that would do for attendance. I know that there's a lot of questions at the state level if they'll allow us to count them as present if they do the online learning, because that's what they're doing now. But that's a work in progress. Finally, the last thing that I added is that we did fill one position today for social studies. I'm very excited, yay. We're in need of 5 more teachers. I have a lead on Lakota language teacher, and 2 positions are scheduled to be filled by TFA, 1 ELA and 1 science. That leaves us with 2 math, 1 ELA and 1 science. We've had 1 applicant in ELA and 2 in mathematics. They're international applicants, so I'm waiting for responses by email because I don't even know how to do international call. It's concerning for us right now, but we're hoping that we get some more applications as we get closer to the middle and end of May. I'd love to be fully staffed by June 1st. That's everything.
Sounds good.
I have a question, Dana. How
Any
many-
questions?
Yeah.
Anything anybody want to ask me?
I have a question, Dana.
Todd's this way. You'll have to go over there.
Oh, over there?
She should not hear you though.
Huh?
Oh, could you guys hear me very well? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Miss Linda.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Do you have the numbers of how many kids have actually participated?
Actually participated,
that
but
is-
yeah, we sent out, I don't have that number with me, but we sent the all calls to the ones that actually participated. We have a listing of the ones that had no participation, from the team leaders, and Jean pulled those lists together and then sent the calls. But I can forward that to you from her.
Okay. And the grades, is that gonna be a passing grade?
Well, I think what we've decided is that we'll just notate the participation on the report cards, and it's not going to be a grade for the simple fact that we couldn't do any new instruction without being unfair to the students that don't have online access. And, you know, we know that we're going to be behind the 8 ball when we come to the beginning of school, but that's just the way everybody's going to be sitting, really. So we're preparing for that, but we're not going to be assigning letter grades or
So it'll be
participation.
Just passing?
You'll just get that participation or honors participation or no participation. That will be the check boxes on the report card.
Okay,
And we'll go through each individual one into that.
And your finals, what does that mean?
Final projects, final assignments, they're a little more complex than what we've been sending out 3 assignments a day. They have a little bit longer to get them done. A little more in depth to show, highlight some of their learning from prior to COVID and during this time they've been home.
Okay. I have a question since I have a grandson over there, and I'm helping him with the online. When I look at his page, it says missing assignments. And it has all these teachers who are not his teachers. So do I just worry about his core teachers?
No, what we did is we assigned assignments multi-grade. The only thing that he has to do for the math teachers are very specific.
Right.
Because math is doubled, but the core content standards kind of bridge between all the grades. So they were done collaboratively and we sent them all. Even if it's not his teacher, if it's social studies, science, language arts, he should be doing it. If it's math, he just does his teachers.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, Linda already asked the question I was gonna ask, so.
Look at, boy, all coordinated. Green with the green jacket, that's awesome.
No, that was a good report.
There
That's
was,
what we've been asking for.
yeah,
That's a good report.
What?
Good report.
Thank you. If you have any questions or you come up with anything later, please give me a call, or email me, or you can Teams me. Thanks, you guys. Have a good night.
Good night, thank you. Okay.
high school. Are you doing high school or?
Well, I'm not sure if one of them will call in or not, but as you can see, they talk about graduation, which we published a while ago already, with the tentative date in June 27th, and then the backup date of July 24th. And I think that you guys saw their plan on, you know, like out on the football field, that way. They're gonna work to try and take pictures of the kids Friday night under the lights. If you've noticed, they were doing them down there, the countdown for them. So they were gonna have the seniors come in and do the social distancing, and Shiloh was gonna take a picture of them. We'll see how that goes and see if we can use that for some type of graduation participation, or, you know, digital graduation. We have 108 seniors to date. I didn't hear anything different today. 87 have met the requirements. Got word today, one chief student also got their work done, so we have one more from there, so it's 88. Some have picked up their caps and gowns. I know some wanted to do some beading, so. Many of the seniors have returned their books and computers. They're gonna check out May 14th and 15th, one student at a time. And they have extended the due date for the seniors to get their work in, so. And I know there's several staff that are following up with those seniors, encouraging them to get the work done, so. We had one new student enroll, I think, today, so. Well, they were disenrolled, but they want to complete, so we're gonna try to help them out, so.
The official locker checkout, is that for all students or just seniors?
They will have to do all. Second, Mr. Hammer has texted me. I'm trying to call, but goes right to message board. I'll have him call myself. Please. I don't know if you'll be able to hear him very well, but we'll try that. Okay, here he is. Hello, Mr. Hammer.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, we're having a meeting here and we might have some questions for you.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. I just kind of went through the bullet points that came to to the board from your report. And I guess Deb had a question about the May 14th and 15th checkout. Is that just for seniors or is that all high school students?
All high school students. Seniors have already checked out basically last week when they got their cash and gowns.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have another question about, staff that are there in the building. Do they wear
Yep.
face masks when they're working?
Yeah, all staff, I sent an email out to invite all staff in the building that they must wear a face mask.
So they're aware of it.
They are.
That includes, janitorial?
Custodians,
Okay.
Secretaries, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
That just goes along with, your guys' recommendations and, planning board's recommendations.
Thank you. Anybody else, high school?
Jeff?
No, a lot of these questions were answered, just participation wasn't on there, is the only thing.
Yeah. How are they doing with their participation?
Can you answer what participation is looking like at the high school for the students, Mike?
In what terms of participation?
Like completing assignments?
Oh, okay. I know we have 20 students left as seniors to get their stuff done. We gave them an extension. And I think 2 more have completed that today. As for the juniors and sophomores and freshmen, they're still working on their packets and their assignments online. They're getting things done as well. We're doing as best we can, and they're doing as best they can. Like we were talking the other day, there'll never be another snow day after this crisis is over.
If you had to guess,
If you had to guess, what percentage do you think, Mike?
Hello?
Mike?
There you go.
Oh, if you had to guess, what percentage do you think are completing their work?
Oh, I couldn't even venture to do this. My thinking is, I would say, third quarter, I would say at least 80% of our students have made up grounds. And that's going from getting their work passing, and also going from a C to a B, from a B to an A.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Hammer?
When will we know about the graduation, what it's gonna turn out like, what you're gonna be doing at the football field?
Do you have an idea of the timeline, Mike, on when you're going to decide about graduation?
Yeah, it'll be a week before that date, so then we'll go to our backup date in July. Hopefully we can get it in one of those 2 dates.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, happy belated Mother's Day to everybody but Tim.
And Chad.
And Jeff.
And Chad, oh, Chad's there, hey,
Yeah.
how you doing?
All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Mike.
Mike.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep, bye-bye. Okay, so I included some things as well. Oh, I can't even see. Oh, that's just- Okay, you have the high school and middle school reports. So we had the notification of school closing with plan to instruct completed on March 30th, and that's the one that we completed and sent into the state, and that's this particular form that I included in your information. And it was completed until the end of May. Remember, the first bout was that we would return to school after May 1st, so on May 4th. So this was filed until that date, and the information on there is for that, the hours are for that, okay?
Is that in this packet?
No, I don't have
Should be.
it.
We don't have it. I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't think I have
I'm
it
gonna make you copies of that. Sorry. Do you not have a packet for me?
No.
Yeah, we gonna make copies?
Would you please?
Yep.
Okay, and then do you have the calendar?
No.
No, they're not.
Well, I wonder what I did with those. I'm sure I made copies. Sorry. No, those should do it. Oh, wait, probably this one too then, but just the front, please.
So those the minutes,
Hmm?
the minutes?
Yeah. I wonder what I did with those copies. I know I made them. Okay, so I will go to the cultural committee. We've had several meetings. We had one in March, and then we had one last week via Zoom. So in the March meeting, we talked about resources we currently have in place. Cheryl was there and she shared the cultural curriculum that she had and talked about piloting at Rosebud, Key Dog, Spring Creek, Achieve Middle School, Elementary, and Oak Creek. And then the training was gonna start March 13th, but I think March 13th we were doing a deep cleaning, so. So Krista was gonna work with Cheryl and start to gather information for the Learning Center and start collecting information. And one of the things that we wanted to do was get a list of books that some of the elementary teachers have, so that there's a set of Lakota books for every elementary teacher, especially new teachers. So they would have at least a set of 10 to start with. And then they started collecting resources, and Krista has started a website to put those on. There's a Lakota dictionary for your phone, Carol's blanket exercise that, oh, Rick. I lost her name. It's on here.
many things, so I don't know what happened.
Leslie Crow was trained in, and we're gonna work to have it specifically for the culture here. And it's a good cultural activity. Talked about the Bush grant, and the one that we had talked about, you know, brought it up, shared it with administration. I haven't heard if you had 5 teachers that applied it, you know, from a specific school that could then become mentors. Chris has done some stuff with Running Horse Livingston.
Oh, I know.
We're trying to track down Lydia's materials,
Well,
but that's
I
kind
get
of
it,
at a
though.
standstill too, because most people are not in buildings, so. We're continuing to work on those things. They thought every school should have a teepee. There should be American Indians Life Skills Development Curriculum.
There's so much of it in here.
And a list of community resources, a social skills curriculum, and there was some talk about some resources there. And then on May 7th, and Shelley chimed in because you were at these, if you have anything additional. So we reviewed feedback on the Title VI grant. Thank you, Jeff. And we kind of let them ask questions about what the Title VI grant does and have some input into that, and try to help maybe get more individuals included in the conversation about what those monies are used for. So we had a nice conversation, I thought, about that. And Jane and Wayne participated for part of the meeting via Zoom that way. And then Wayne had some ideas for some committee members for the Carol's blanket activity as well. Cheryl called in, and we're gonna try and collect the curriculums that people had taken and get those back in. We'll pilot in the fall, which actually she thought might be better, it won't be as rushed, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, so she wanted to pilot then through the Christmas break instead of just a few weeks. So that would run a little longer.
And we asked about Lydia's materials. Gabby was sure she had some, but she hadn't really been in the school to look for that. We reviewed the new additional Todd County School District mentor. We thought Krista and the new cultural language coordinator would co-teach a class, focus on culturally responsive teaching, Lakota culture, do book studies, do have people in buildings that could help mentor, natural mentors, and then more of a structured type of mentoring for the first and second year teachers in the district. All admin had to team up and do mentoring meetings, and we didn't know about that model, how well that went. I know there was some gaps in like what was being covered or done that way, so there should be some consistency, coherence with having the staff on hand to do that. We discussed the role of the committee and thought the new director would have some, or should have some insight into, what she needs help, he needs help with as well. Part of that is helping students reconnect with their identity and provide cultural awareness, tying it in with the mission and vision goals, and that what our next steps, get more work into the elementary schools, laying the groundwork there. Early years are the most important, and I keep hearing that being reinforced. So hopefully the new coordinator has less background work to do because of some of the work this committee has done. Open for questions and discussion. What does Indigenous curriculum really mean? What does it look like, sound like, feel like? How does it look specific to different communities? How do we make it happen? 5 positions for elementary school, what do they look like? Clarification, on the overall district goal. And again, I think our new director has to help us and give us a little guidance in how that needs to play out as well. So, the position is advertised, open right now, so waiting for applications. Okay, we have that one.
Did I hear you say 5 positions for elementary?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a dream.
Oh.
Well, actually, the dream
It
should be
says
bigger
it's
now.
a money sign, so
Oh,
Yeah.
I was
it's
wondering.
more of a question mark,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
Because some of our questions were, Title VI were, how did we get 2 people in the middle school? We only have 1 in an elementary, and, trying to figure some of that out. We don't have anybody outlying. And then Jane explained to us, do you remember, Shelley? Dr. B,
How that funding works?
yeah,
That it's allocated by student count,
but
so.
it didn't follow the way, they didn't get applications, I think. He wanted 2, like, paraprofessionals, and that didn't work, and that's how that came about, right?
A lot of those positions was open for a long time, so
Right,
that's why
yeah.
we put it at the middle school.
Yeah. Just need to keep working on that and looking for funding for more staff.
There was, on the front page where it has JOM collects community input through a survey called Indian Ed Community. Is that called that JOM needs assessment that's done at the end of each year? Do you know?
I think, isn't there one at the beginning and the end?
Oh,
They have to
it's
do
once a
it.
year.
And at the end of the year, they do it.
I think so, yeah,
And
so
it's
the
really
one that they send out.
academics, attendance, and culture.
And I think
Yeah.
Wayne was having trouble getting, so I think he was gonna try an electronic survey.
Yeah, that's a review, to set your money, how much you want in
Yeah.
academics, how much you want attendance, how much do you want in culture, and then that's how your money's set up for the year. Used to be.
Yeah. I don't think I have that copy either, but you just go over.
Oh, that's just the minutes,
Oh, okay.
so that I could remember everything we talked about off the agenda here.
There's one more that jumped out at me. On the last page, where it says, do we want to set a mission, vision, and goals? Is that for the committee?
For the committee.
For your own, to
Yeah.
follow our goals, the district
Yeah.
goals?
Yeah. Yeah,
That makes sense.
right, and then the new person would
Mhm.
kind of head that is our dream, right, Shelley?
Yeah. So how, you know, what's the committee's role in meeting the district mission and goals?
Yeah. So it was a good meeting. It's a good staff on the committee.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Hopefully we get some applicants.
Okay.
Yeah, working on one. Back to colleges before the board.
Keep working, huh? Along with that, Marliese reached out, and because of the COVID situation, she had a horse therapy curriculum, and she reached out, and she had resources in the middle school, but I helped with the high school, so that the high school kids that were using horse therapy would have, you know, some follow-up as well. So we're reaching out, working with the different agencies that way, so.
Has anyone ever done an equine therapy session?
Yeah,
They're awesome.
yeah. We've actually had quite a few kids
We've
that,
had kids, yeah.
yeah.
We used to even have a horse at the elementary, I think.
No, I mean, but any of you guys
Oh, I know.
participated?
Oh, yeah.
I have,
Yeah.
it's
I
really
mean,
nice.
it is, it's kind of, the first time it was kind of eerie, when a horse just comes over and
They're very responsive,
I mean,
it's,
meets you, I mean,
It's
it's just,
really
it
neat.
just hangs around you like, I mean, this is your,
Yeah.
this is
Soulmate.
your- yeah. And-
I was out with Hope College when they did their demonstration with them last year. They had a couple of the Hope College kids go out there. It was very interesting. They explained the whole process while we were there, and it's just really neat. I can see where kids would really enjoy that, so. So the first page that Chad copied for us, that's the plan that went in, March 30th, so that we could count the hours that we did March 30th through May 1st, okay? So that's the hours that are calculated on there, and then a brief description of the different things that would happen through that, and experimenting with how to provide those services, so. Then there was, Krista used, you know, a report from each school and what they were gonna do. So, the different schools have different, explanations to the bullets there. So with that being sent in and our record with the state, when our school year's over, we're gonna have to send another one in, because this was only through May. So, then I think the next page you have is Brian did the minutes for us of the school year off Infinite Campus. And he took it from that May 30th date, and the hours that you're seeing, or minutes, are if we run school through May 22nd. So, and on the bottom also is the state mandated hours, and you see kindergarten, 1st through 5th, 6th through 12th. So, and remembering, as our attendance centers, you know, what grades they have in them would dictate what hours are required. So, most of them are cutting it close. We have a couple that are long, Rosebud, the elementary are longer.
and 3 that are short.
Mhm. And I was curious about, the high school and the middle school, but it's just how they track time in Infinite Campus, so. And then those other 2 schools had community activities where, they didn't have school. And I know they made up some of the time, but.
I bet some of them might have been at Spring Creek, because they take a lot of time for, funerals.
Well, and there was one,
Yeah, that water mess.
yeah,
too.
but that, I don't think that, because they were very creative and went to the
Oh,
park
yeah,
and did
they-
things.
Oh, yeah.
There was a funeral right like when this happened, so they didn't have time to make it up. So that's what I think happened there,
Probably Madeline.
yeah,
Yeah,
because it was really like close to when we shut school down and stuff, so there wasn't time to make up that time. Typically, those schools will add like 15 minutes or a half an hour to their day to make up for that one day then. So. And then on the bottom, just the note that came out on May 6th from Governor Noem to us, you know, that remain closed for the remainder of the year. And that we were to continue with our flex learning opportunities that we put in place, and that continue to provide instruction to students and stick with the original calendar. And I know there was some question about the calendar. Any dates Krista and I have put in any document is off the original calendar. We have made no dates up. The kids have always been gonna be done on May 22nd, and staff always on May 29th. And those are the dates we've stuck with. And, you know, I've told you about the 2 snow days and the 10 days. You can look at the minutes we have. I don't think we need to extend. I think, you know, if we stick with those dates, that would complete our year with the original calendar. Okay.
so how many schools are handing out packets?
Most are. This last week, I have received some concern about one particular building that I'm not sure. When I look at this document, it looks like they're providing it, but I'm here, I mean, we don't see any mail or anything going out, so I need to do some follow-up and find out what they're providing to students, but, everybody else is either doing a Zoom meeting, sending packets out, you know, so.
I guess I'm concerned about that now because we're getting our numbers of COVID on the reservations going up. We've got 10 now. And Spring Creek, you know, had that going on down there last week. They opened up today, but I'm just wondering if we're jeopardizing people by handing out packets. Is there something else we can do for some of these communities that are starting to show, like I think St. Francis has cases, I know Rosebud does now.
Well, and when I checked with Roberta, they had sent 2 weeks out last week, so they should be good. I think she said through the 18th. Marla sends them out every week, so hers would go out tomorrow, and I'm sure they're planning on that.
And they'll be
So,
done? They'll just collect them, or?
I am not 100% sure if they'll do that, and then, you know, they still have to do the student pickup stuff. I'm just gonna look at a calendar here and try to. A lot of the schools wanted to be done picking up stuff next week and kind of, you know, finalizing stuff. And then some were actually, like the high school you heard, going through the 20th. And then the staff have that next week to look at the materials they have back or that are online and then grade. So they'll have 4 additional days to, you know, look through things and go through monitoring progress, which is one of the requirements.
So the district doesn't mail the packets out anymore because nobody's.
We will, if they bring them. I just had some of the staff here tell me, you know, certain teachers that are very regular on bringing packet materials in, so. And then I had a staff person run into me over the weekend and say, I've been waiting to come back to work and deliver packets, so. And we have one other individual that's been here pretty much every day taking stuff out, so. There's ways to be safe I mean, like Rosebud does the drive-through, so there's never like direct contact. It's kind of like our lunches being delivered. Our other staff can call, leave it on the porch so they know it's there, those kinds of things, so.
So there are parents or families picking them up?
Yes, Rosebud's been fantastic. They had, last week, they had 3 classrooms, 100%.
100% pickup or
Yep.
100% completion?
Pickup.
there's no, what's the completion rate?
I do not know that.
I think probably a lot of those schools have a good number, a high percentage of pickup, but it's.
I haven't heard anybody
I'd like
else
to
tell
know
me
how many
100%.
are really completing their work.
So, I mean, they're trying to get it back, that's all we can do, so. We have to offer the opportunity and then monitor progress the best we can.
Well, are the principals having the opportunity to do what they have to do to keep their staff safe?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. We have a broad range of, a lot of the outlying school has no one in it, hasn't had.
Well, I don't think any of them have, I'm just wondering about how they're delivering the packets and if they're just being safe.
Yeah, I know, like, they make sure there's 10 or less, they've been doing that all along. So, I have not had anyone express, they were more concerned about if they got packets back and, there being the virus on them. And I told them from the get-go, listening to Avera and Sanford, 48 hours, and they were saying 72. I'm like, 72 is good because anything that's in print is 48 hours. So if you leave it sat in an office or somewhere, and that's what Rosebud was doing. So then, and we had the staff here spraying with disinfectants, so, before they touched anything, so.
I know there's some places that, if they're at the gate or in front of their house, they have a chair or a box or whatever set up and for them to leave them with a lid on or whatever, so.
Yeah.
I do know some places are doing that.
I just hope everybody's taking the precautions needed because this is starting to spread on the reservation. And I don't want us to think when it gets worse that we should have done this or we should have done that.
I don't think we're requiring anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with.
Okay.
I mean, I've not had anyone call and say that, and I know with what Chad and I do in the morning, there's no one required to be there. No one has to show up. And we've had people self-quarantine, so I feel fairly safe going there. I mean, there's always the risk of someone not knowing and you being around them, but, I feel that the cause is very worthwhile, and I think we're around way more people than anyone else as far as, on a daily basis. I don't know of anyone else that, is around very many people. So.
And the principals assign who's gonna be in the building
Yeah.
at what time or whatever.
And they've been told to do that from day one. Like, you can't have more than 10 people in the building, and they've been very good about that. Monitoring who comes in, there's usually, they have to let them know if they're coming in, so.
So because of the situation in Spring Creek, Roberta did 2 weeks at a time?
Well, no, that came up afterward. I'm not 100% sure why they did 2 weeks, but
I didn't want to staff that down.
yeah. I mean, that was very fortunate, because I think the lockdown happened after, because they do it on Tuesdays, so I think the lockdown happened after that.
It happened the day, Tuesday, they went down and handed them out, and that's when they found out that someone was sick.
Down in that
And
community.
then the lockdown happened.
So, and they can come in here and make copies, I've told several principals that, you just have to let us know. And the same requirements are here that anywhere else. We ask that you wipe down what you use. We have hand sanitizer all over, so, we try to help staff have access to whatever materials they need, so.
I think I know what Linda's bringing up, is do we at this point stop everything St. Francis area down Spring? Do we stop, do we just shut the school down there because of the lockdown? I think that's what you're kind
I
of
think
getting
something
at.
needs to be done, maybe we just quit this Friday, stop with packets, and give time for kids to get all their stuff handed in by the 22nd, so there's no more going out and handing out packets and, that interaction. People were saying there's somebody put on Facebook that there's a lady cruising around in St. Francis that has it. So it's getting scary. People aren't really taking the precautions that they need to take to be safe and to keep others safe. So I just don't want us jeopardizing our staff, especially if we don't know what the percentage is of participation. We're doing all this work, but what are we getting back? think my school gave a very good report. I don't know what the other schools, what kind of reporting they have for us.
I think at the same time, do we need to be careful? We can't base our decisions off of Facebook either.
Well, I'm saying that was just a comment that I heard, but I'm saying it could get worse, you know? And we need to make sure that we're taking the precautions needed.
You know, and I know none of us want to jeopardize, you know, any of that. But at the same time, this is me, you know, we're an education institution and, you know, they planned for the end of next week and some of the plans and I mean, I think the students, we have to give the students that time to get what's done because they've already missed out on so much instructional time. And I've heard that from so many principals. You know,
I think we're giving them that time up until the 22nd, like.
yeah,
like
I
we
mean,
said we were going
but I
to.
mean, if, I wouldn't be for quitting this week for that reason.
When you have a lot of online, you heard Dana's report on the online stuff. I mean, if people don't wanna do packets or don't feel safe, don't do it. Then, you know, that's a total option again. But I think, you know, from everything that we've done here, we have to provide the opportunity and we have to monitor progress. Well, you know, we can't monitor things we don't have back, but we can monitor that we didn't get things back, you know, so, there's so many things that are new and different and, you know, no way to gauge, you know, and I know there's a lot of teachers who have everything done till the end of the year, so, you know, I think there's ways, if they don't feel safe, then, you know, we're not gonna request them to do it. But I think the online and there's other opportunities, like Deb said, there's boxes and driveways and, you know.
Well, I understand where Linda's coming from, because this is gonna get worse, there's nothing we can do about it, it's gonna
Right.
get worse, because people aren't
No,
doing what they're supposed to
Take
do.
it serious.
Yeah, but I also agree with Deb that we have to give those students the opportunity to finish,
Well,
at least.
I think we're
most of
doing
it done.
what we should and being safe, you know, and we can't control what everyone else does, but, you know.
We have to do our part,
Yeah,
yeah. And hopefully that we get a lot of response back, but we have to do our part, that's all there is to it. We can't control what's happening out there.
You know, I'll speak, but as a parent, I wanna speak, you know, I've just been thoroughly impressed with the way the staff has stepped up and tackled this, the way they had to tackle this. You know, and I think the reality is that even as we look into next fall, this is something we're gonna have to be dealing with. And it's something that I just think we needed, I would rather have the conversation on even summer school. I think it's important, our kids need it, our at-risk kids need us around, they need the opportunities. And I just think it's important that I would rather be hearing that we're gonna have those kind of conversations on what we're gonna do to keep this going, because it is so important, and planning for the fall, because I think we could seriously be dealing with a situation where we're right where we're at now. And you know, those staff have been phenomenal and creative and worked very hard. And I just, as a parent, I really commend them for what they've done.
I agree with you. I hope we do come up with some type of plans if we have to do this in the fall. And I think we need to make sure that we provide our parents what they need so they can do site learning, because right now, a lot of our parents don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And we're not doing service for them.
well, there's conversations at the national level about the inequities of broadband and those kinds of things, which, you know, isn't that kind of what happened when the wiring of the schools and stuff, you know? So you know, this has brought that about again in the rural areas. There's a huge, you know, discrepancy in what we can provide because of what's available. The problem is, by the time it gets to where it needs to be, you know, we might not be in these same positions, but we have to still try and do everything we can. So, you know, look at community-based hotspots, Wi-Fi's, those kinds of things, you know, and continue our partnership with Golden West and SGU, looking at those kinds of things. It's gonna look different. It's not gonna be the same education that we had, you know, March 1st. You know, a day might look quite different. And depending on, you know, the restrictions of how many can gather and those things, our schools aren't built for small groups. So,
I really do appreciate having all of this data. I think we need stuff like this all the time, like prior to a school board meeting, like was mentioned as
Yes.
well, because I mean,
I was
just
gonna,
like,
I will make a, Office 365, and then, you guys, I will push it out to you through that, and then, you'll have to use, the only thing is you'll have to use your district mail because of safety and security. But I think we can do that. Chad and I have talked, he can put information up there, Phyllis will put information up there, and then that'll be just a common place. It'll get really easy to use the more we use it, just like Dana was using Teams, that's a part of that as well. So we'll just get better at doing that, and I'll try to do it slowly, so you have a comfort level with it, and not send you 20 things in one day.
Can we get some reporting from the other schools about how their site loading went before the end of the year?
Sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
This proves that it can be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm so impressed with that middle school, absolutely.
I think it's gonna be a good idea to meet and figure out what's worked and what hasn't as we look forward to the
Yeah, I
future.
agree.
That's what it comes down
We've
to.
gotta come up with a plan of some kind.
Yeah.
This has happened so fast, it was just.
yeah,
Well,
none
that's
of, I
just
mean,
it, but-
everybody's
Yeah.
new territory for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, I have a suggestion, I don't know, what has everybody done so far for next year for paperwork? You know, like getting their registration papers and documents, like my daughter, her children are in the Sioux Falls district, and they are passing them out now so that they're returned. You know what I mean, right now, because it's gonna be hard to contact people after it's been a summer, after we've gone through all of this to try and get registration packets in.
Well, we've actually made them all, I want you to know that. I mean,
Yeah.
Penny has worked hard at getting those all made and actually given to the schools, so those are out in the buildings now.
I mean, and they can do pre-registration, a lot of them do, you know, at the end of the year, and then just, it's easier to roll over the returning students versus new students.
Yes,
Yeah, when we
If
do
they
student
send-
checkout or something, you know, we could try and push that.
yes.
When are you going to have all the buildings, have the students get their stuff?
Each building's making their own
Okay.
plan for that, so, you know.
Are they allowing kids in the building to get that? I mean, that bothers me.
I think maybe, I'm not sure what the high school's thinking there, I wasn't real clear, but like a lot of them are bagging it,
Hmm.
and then they're doing like a pickup time.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
put
what I
the
heard
kids'
the elementary
names
was
on
gonna
it.
do, they're gonna have them drive up to the circle and get their stuff.
So, that's mainly what I've heard, and some have already done that, if parents have requested that, you know, that is what they've done, they've packaged it or put it in a bag and then taken it out to them, so.
Deb, is it and I don't want to cut off conversation, is it appropriate time? I just want to bring up a few things. I haven't seen you guys in a month, so. The month of May, according to state statute, we're supposed to work on approving a preliminary budget. And we would typically do that at the second board meeting in May. And I've got an idea on that this year. I think everyone's aware of the uncertainty funding-wise that we're dealing with. I think you're aware that we were approved for like a 2% increase, but that is, we're not sure where that's gonna land. We're hearing we may get some clarification in June from Christie, Nome, and they're gonna call a special session. But what that we anticipate is gonna look like is actual cuts to our funding. But no one has any idea right now to what degree. There is a lot of work going on behind the scenes to try to be able to take some of these federal dollars that are available and loosen some of the restrictions. So, I mean, I'm still optimistic that we're not gonna see big cuts, but we need to deal with the reality of it's an unknown. So my idea on this is, just to sum it up quick, is to come at the next board meeting with a motion that basically just asks the board to roll over this year's budget. It doesn't make sense to me to try to go and plan with a 2%. It doesn't make sense to me to make up a number and say this is what we're gonna get cut and try to anticipate that. I think in order to meet the state statute, if we would go ahead and approve a rollover of the current year budget into 2021, and then we can work on it with further clarity when it comes out. Is that okay? I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that.
I think it's
Makes sense.
Okay.
You can always amend it later, like you said.
Well, and we're gonna work on it. The final has to be approved prior to October 1. So it's always a process that we work through, but this year's gonna be so unique.
Yeah.
And I can't predict what's gonna happen right now. It makes it very hard.
Kind of getting the feeling that they're gonna cut the budget, if we roll it over, that budget might get cut? Are you kind of getting that feeling?
Well, I think it's gonna happen. I think the real issue comes down to how much the feds are gonna allow us to backfill, allow the state to backfill those funds in order to keep schools whole. And I think there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. They're trying to loosen some restrictions in DC. But it's an unknown right now. So school districts across the state don't know. So that was my idea, in order to keep things simple and just be as clear and transparent as possible, that we're gonna be working on it as we go. So I'll bring that to the next board meeting. Parmalee School is still going on behind the scenes. Now, I want you guys to know that I've gotta try to figure out a way to get the community involved, because we don't have the opportunity in the planning and how we have this done. But we're still moving forward with that project. I think right now the plan currently has 11 classrooms. It has a combined science and art room. It has a combined music and makers room.
Yeah.
It has a room with some stoves, the family consumer science, I think, is that what it's called?
Right.
It's got a gym, you know, it looks a lot like what you see at the elementary.
You
The
got
same
some preliminaries,
concept.
Chad?
What's that?
You got some
I
preliminaries?
do, and I'd
Next
love to
meeting?
show you guys, but I want you, I've gotta figure out a way, and if you guys have ideas, tell me, in order to get out to the communities and show this. And maybe we can set up some Zoom meetings, or, I wanna keep moving on this project, with a goal to still get this thing started late summer.
Might be the old-fashioned way, just hand out the information to the community chair.
Word of mouth, the community chair.
Is that what you guys would recommend? Because I've worked
Yeah.
with her before, so.
Have the community chair.
And then let them
and
figure out
rep
how to-
From each community,
Yeah.
and like that way and do it.
Like this.
As long as you have a group of people that are willing to.
And then it would be up to them to get it out.
Get it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to meet, that's the reality.
Yeah.
TSAs, council, whatever, so like, say from Antelope, the community chairs, Melinda and Totes would be at that meeting, right? And then, Rosebud, I don't know who Rosebud is.
Shadow.
Shadow.
And that's what unfortunate, is that we haven't been able to push forward on Rosebud, but we still need to build Rosebud School.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but
They're
we're
at a
it's kind of on
standstill at this
yeah,
moment.
we're at a standstill
Mhm.
on that. But I just wanted you guys to know how exciting it is that we're still moving forward with plans.
So then after this, we get it out there to the people, to get it out to all of
Their
the people.
communities.
When can we start? When can the construction start?
Oh, I'm still hopeful at the end of the summer.
Okay.
We'll keep it
We're trying to get it moved on to a point that we can go out and bid it out and start moving. Contractors are hungry right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a possibility of staking the site out so people says, well, now they know where it's gonna be, and then they'll.
Well, and see, we're going through the testing on that, so the architects have made a recommendation on that, on where it's gonna be. And we're continuing, for your guys' knowledge, we're looking at geothermal, so we've done the well, and we're trying to do testing. It's tough soil, and everyone I've talked to with the tribe has told me it's tough soil in that area. So I'm waiting for results to come back on that too, but we're looking at it, and something that we've made an investment in to see right now.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
How's the architect? Pretty good to work with?
So far. Yep, it's early though, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it'd be nice to see the preliminaries at the next meeting if you could.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Anybody also, John?
No, I just wanted to bring those two things up. Thank you.
A dark cloud, Chad, thanks, but,
Well,
There's many dark clouds.
no, I don't want it to sound like
There's
that, because
sunshine.
I am optimistic.
Light at the end of the.
no, it's good that you brought it up. 'cause
It'll be okay.
It'd be exciting if we could keep moving forward on something positive like that.
Yes.
I was talking about the cutbacks.
Oh, yeah, well,
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it.
Yes.
Prepare us for it if it does happen.
But we're preparing for it, and I think you guys should feel pretty good in our current financial position that we'll be able to weather whatever that dark cloud is today, so.
That's good.
Are we ready for consent agenda?
Yes.
Does anybody have anything to pull?
No.
No,
I need a motion.
almost.
Moved by Shelley,
I'll second.
second by Michelle. All in favor?
Yes.
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 5-0. Personnel.
7-2.
Can't even turn my, must be that hairspray.
I went to lick my finger earlier to turn a page.
7-2, we need a motion for South Dakota High School Activities Amendment.
I'll move.
Moved by Linda,
I'll second.
second by Michelle. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 5-0. 7-3, South Dakota High School Activities Association Small Group. Recommend to vote for Marty Wiesmiller. Does he have a motion?
Almost.
Moved by Shelley. Second
I'll second.
by Michelle. All in favor?
Yes.
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 5-0. South Dakota High School Activities, East River at Large,
Dr. Kelly Glow would be the recommendation from Peer.
Kelly,
What's his name?
Kelly,
Dr. Kelly Gloat, Glodt.
Yeah, I looked at that. I'll move.
motion by Linda, second
I'll second.
by Shelley. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes, I suppose.
5-0-4. 7-5.
Mike Talley of Rapid City Central would be the recommendation. And I got these for Chuck.
Yeah. Need
These
a
all
motion?
incumbents, Chad?
I'll move.
No.
All do.
Moved by Shelley,
I'll second.
second by Michelle. All in favor?
Yes.
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 5-0. Personnel. 8-1. Recommend to offer professional degree and non-degree degrees for the 2021 school year.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved by Shelley, second by Michelle. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 5-0. Meetings, events, next board meeting. Tuesday, May 26th. And I won't be at that meeting. That May 26th, it's my surgery day, so I won't be there.
Can you move to next day?
Next day.
We want you
Prior
there.
to?
We want you there.
I wouldn't know the next day, but,
Friday would be the holiday. Memorial.
Oh,
oh yeah, that's Memorial Day.
right.
Are you going to, we're not going to Oak Creek, are we?
No, Craig Wilson.
Okay.
Executive session. I do think we need to go in executive session for personnel.
Okay.
I'll move.
Moved by Linda,
I'll second.
second by Shelley. At 6:36. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.